Model Health Show. This is fitness and nutrition expert Shawn Stevenson, and I'm so grateful for you tuning in with me today. It's a really, really special episode, and I'm in a really special moment in my life. As many of you know, I grew up, born and raised in St. Louis, and that's where the birthing of the Model Health Show took place. And to come from a smaller area on the map and to take the show to being the number one health podcast in the country is just so crazy for me to even put those words together. And the millions of hearts and minds that we've been able to reach coming from where I was coming from. And so we recently made a big shift in our life, and I moved my family to Los Angeles, California. And we moved to a little bit of a smaller area, a little bit more family friendly. And it's a big move for us. And it was a couple years in the making, and just trying to line everything up correctly to, get my kids where they need to be, and to just put myself in position to be able to bring the very best messages, the very best people in the world to you. That is my mission. That's the number one reason why I'm here doing what I'm doing right now. And so I'm super pumped. And we've been here for a while, but I just wanted to share that officially, and to give a big shout out to everybody in St. Louis and my family. And, we were there, helped bring home a championship, the Blues, St. Louis Blues, shout out to that. But also, thank you to everybody in LA who's been welcoming me, and just being able to give me all that good energy as well. And I really do appreciate it. And you know what? When things change, you're going to have turbulence. Stuff's going to happen. And something absolutely crazy happened to me the other day. I left the studio, really pouring my heart and soul into each episode. And I left the studio and I was driving home. It's about 30-minute drive with traffic. Could be an hour, thank you, Los Angeles. But I got home and I got a text from somebody that my book bag, my backpack that I carry with me everywhere, that had my MacBook in there, my supplements, books that I'm reading, just so many different things that I always keep with me, fell out of my freaking trunk of my car. So it was like an electronic trunk, and I guess it didn't latch, and then like the bag fell out, and then it latched, and it was just on the side of the road, and somebody picked it up. Now, this spells trouble already, but I got the text from the person because I happened to have it on my MacBook. It wasn't, it was on sleep mode. And so they were able to get my phone number was in the MacBook, and they text me and say, "Hey, you want your bag back?" And I'm like, "Yeah, yeah. What I got to do, So I had $20 in my pocket that I was going to give the person, happily give them, for giving me a call and retrieving the bag. And while I was there, and I took my oldest son, Jordan, with me, and while I was driving to the location, to the person's place to meet up and get my bag, there was a mother on the side of the road. She was pregnant, and she had a little daughter with her as well. The little girl couldn't have been more than maybe 5 years old. And she had a sign that said, "Oh, we just lost our home. Uh, Please, anything that you can do so that we can eat." And that $20 that I had in my pocket belonged to her. And so I gave that to her. And now I'm like, I want to be able to give this person something. And so now I'm scrambling, trying to find an ATM. And this is at the end of a long, tough day. Just moved my family, recorded 2 episodes of the show, and just a lot of outgo. And now I'm like going through LA traffic again. And now, it's just adding another thing to my plate. So I go to the ATM and I'm like, you know what? I would gladly give more than this, but let me grab $100 out of the ATM to give this person, and just as a thank you for being a good enough person to reach out that you have my bag. And so I grabbed $100 from a random ATM, and like going through traffic, and we drive over to the person's home. And there's like, when I got there, there were like 3 homes, like basically together, and they couldn't have been. The house was not much bigger than the size of this room that I'm in, not much bigger than the size of a 2-car garage. And a pregnant woman opened the door. And I was like, somebody, my bag. They texted me about my bag. She was like, "Yeah, just come in." And there was 2 little puppies that ran up to me, and the guy came out. He looked like maybe couldn't have been more than 25 years old, probably. And he had my book bag, and he gave it to me, and I gave him the $100, and he looked like total shock. He was like, why would you, he couldn't understand that I would even give him this $100. And so I'm just like, why are you so, I'm surprised you called me. And so I gave them the $100 and then I just said, thank you. And then I left. And he even texted me again within like 2 minutes, just thanking me for giving him that cash. And just as I mentioned, just the conditions and the new baby on the way, I felt like that was a really big blessing that they needed in that moment. But through this challenging experience, I found out that there are really good people in the world. Always. Most people are really, really good. And I had an opportunity, even through all my stress, through the trials and tribulations of the day, and even of this last couple of weeks, to be a blessing for somebody else and for others to be a blessing for me, and there's this constant exchange going on. And so I was just really, really grateful for that and a really interesting experience. But I just wanted to share that with you, that this stuff is going on all the time. These synchronicities, these accidental moments or problems or even tragic moments that open the door for some good to come in. And I've just been kind of reveling in that the last couple of days because like that would have really stopped my progress in its tracks. It was an inconvenience in a sense, but it also opened the door for a lot of inspiration and remembering that there's so many good people out there. And that's why I'm here doing what I'm doing. And the guest that I have for you today, she knows a thing or 2,000 about being a blessing in people's lives. And she's been the producer of the Oprah Winfrey Show and the network, Harpo Network as well, and OWN. And it was about 20 years that she was doing this work. And now she's transitioned and parlayed into another domain. And she's got an incredible, powerful book highlighting her story. And we'll dive into that today. But I also want to keep in mind, as always, making sure that we're taking care of our health and our fitness. And so being in a new area, it can be a little sketchy with trying to find out like what's the right fit for me, like with the training, that kind of thing. But what's always apparent is that I have the ability to train myself no matter where I'm at. Because number one, I have a body. If you've got a body, you've got a gym. But also I've got some of the dopest, most valuable fitness equipment in the world because I'm connected with Onnit. And Onnit is the company that's really kind of ushered in and pressed into popular culture things like steel clubs and maces and the primal kettlebells. So it's like not just the typical kettlebell, but the kettlebell with all these different designs. Like the primal kettlebells have like, I've got the Prowler monkey that my youngest son Braden uses. And they've also got the powerful gorilla kettlebell, like which is this huge monster that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson uses, for example, right? And so all of these incredible people that we look towards get their stuff from Onnit, most powerful fitness equipment on the planet. And they've also partnered with Marvel. So they've got an Iron Man kettlebell and Marvel gear as well. The same thing with Star Wars. They've got like Stormtrooper kettlebells and yoga mats that have like Han Solo in them and stuff like that. And just really cool stuff. And they've got such a great vibe, fun stuff. We got the battle ropes at the house as well. They've got a Spider-Man themed battle rope, and I've got Big Red is the one that I have. And it's a heavy, that's for, if you're not here to play, that's when you use Big Red. All right, so pop over there, check them out. They've got the best fitness equipment on the planet and also the most incredible supplements as well for human optimization. That's their whole brand. And they use earth-grown nutrients for all of their different formulas as well. So whether you're looking for post-workout protein, a pre-workout supplement, I love their Shroom Tech. And they actually did a double-blind placebo-controlled trial to find the efficacy, to really reveal the efficacy of their Shroom Tech Sport. It actually works. We're talking about a 9% improvement in your cardiovascular performance and over 10% improvement in things like bench press and squats from utilizing Shroom Tech Sport. All right, all based on cordyceps mushroom and a couple of other earth-grown nutrients. Pop over there, check them out. You get 10% off everything that I talked about at onnit.com/model. That's ONNIT.com/model. You get 10% off everything. All right, pop over there, check them out. And on that note, let's get to the Apple Podcast review of the week.
Another 5-star review titled Absolutely Life-Changing by Dre23. I just finished listening to every single episode. Yes, back to 2013, multiple times. I'm a fitness professional who coaches thousands of people a year who got a degree in exercise sports science and can honestly say I have learned more and helped more people just from the information in this podcast than everything else combined. Shawn is a superhero. If you haven't gotten to know him, what are you doing? He is the gold standard for podcasts, along with being a great social media follow. Family Dance Battles Daily. He puts in the research and lives the model he is trying to share with the world. He will educate, explain the why, and then give actionable steps at the end of each podcast to better your health. I will forever be thankful to Shawn. The ripple effect of his work and shared knowledge is unimaginable. Absolutely life. Thank you.
Dre23, thank you so much. This is like one of the most powerful messages that I've ever received, and just huge props to you, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of your life and the lives that you are impacting. And just, I'm so grateful that you're in this space as well, reaching out and helping other folks. So thank you for taking the time to share that. And everybody, if you've yet to do so, pop over to Apple Podcasts, leave a review for the Model Health Show. Let everybody know what you think of the show, or just whatever platform you're listening on, if it's Spotify or Stitcher, or if you're hanging out in the studio with me, leave a comment below the video and let everybody know what you think about this episode, because you're about to get some powerhouse insights from our incredible guests. So let's jump into it with our special guest and topic of the day. Sheri Salata is the author of The Beautiful No and Other Tales of Trial, Transcendence, and Transformation. And she's also the co-host of the podcast series, The Sheri and Nancy Show. And she's also the co-founder of thepillarlife.com. Now, her new ventures are an evolution of her 20-year career with Oprah Winfrey. She served as the final executive producer of The Oprah Winfrey Show, co-president of Harper Studios, and OWN. And now she's here on the Model Health Show hanging out with us. So let's jump into this conversation with the incredible Sheri Salata. You know what's so funny is that in reading the book, you're the oldest of all the grandkids.
Yeah.
And I am too.
You
And
know what
so
that means.
I was like,
Yes.
I was the herder,
Yes.
basically.
Yes.
You know?
It's like it's served up as an opportunity, but you're really the babysitter.
Exactly.
So the aunts and uncles and parents can do other things.
I want to sit at the big table.
Oh,
too.
I did too.
You know, we had the little table, little red chairs and everything.
I was in a pout. I'm like, am I ever going to sit at the big table? I think I got to the big table when I was about 38. It took forever.
And know another story too that like I was like, oh my, because I didn't know anybody else experienced this, but the Bozo Show.
Oh, yes.
All right, when I was a kid, I was living at my grandma's house, and I would watch it on, it was like USA Cartoon Express or something, like the Cartoon Network. And I wanted to be in the grand prize game.
Yes, you
and
did.
like throw the ball into the
Yes.
bucket. Like it was my life goals.
Yes.
Right? But you did, like you went there.
I went there. I didn't get picked. Well, and also I was in 8th grade because it took forever for the tickets to you waited years. So I was like, it was like, I was like a tall giant compared to
These
the
little
rest
kids.
of the audience. And I did get to say, folks, here's Huckleberry.
Wow. That's incredible. That
I
was your
know.
first taste of
That's
that
right.
world.
Showbiz.
Wow.
Showbiz.
And I'm curious because it didn't really, you talked about so many powerful things in the book, and you really opened yourself up and shared some things that, and I told you this before, that it just inspired me to share more.
Yeah.
And thinking of those areas of my life that I'm not being really just outwardly open and sharing because there's
Right.
gifts there somewhere. But how did you get from the small town
Yeah.
well, it's not a super small town, but to wanting and being involved in such a big platform
I
in
know.
television?
That is amazing, isn't it? Because, and that really is my message when I'm chatting with people. I'm a middle class girl from a suburban town in Illinois, and I wanted my life to be an adventure, but I couldn't have dreamed this up. I just couldn't have. I'd be like, maybe I could be a pop star. I was playing acoustic guitar in my Catholic church, but maybe I could do that. And then it's like, well, I'm not good enough, so that's not going to happen. But I don't know. I couldn't have dreamed this madness up. Like what ultimately happened, and it didn't happen when I was young. That's the thing. I was 35 years old, broke, depressed, when I got an entry level job at the Oprah show. An
Wow.
entry level job. I was 35. I wasn't right out of school. I had run a 7-Eleven, I had run a toy store, I had worked in a typing pool. I mean, I had a twisty, turny little road there.
35.
35.
That's when a lot of people like phoning it in, you know?
Yes, you're planning their retirement. I'm just like entry level. Here I reporting for duty.
Yeah. So already, like, this should be super insightful and inspiring for people that think it's too late.
Yes.
Like, I don't know if you know how awesome your story is. Well, kind of, you could put it into a book, but just that in and of itself, I just
Yes.
drove past the 7-Eleven. I wasn't like, Sheri, I
I
didn't
know.
connect those.
Yes.
That's
And
bananas.
I ran a store for 8 months by my like I had one of those little stores where you're running the register, making the coffee, cleaning the Slurpee machine, hosing down the parking lot. And it was, in the training program on my way to become a supervisor where I'd have 6 or 7 stores. And it was hard. It was hard. It was super challenging, and I try to make some sense of it. I look back and I see that I was very anxious about becoming something. I was anxious to get that title filled in on a business card. And so I'd stay too long at things that weren't a fit until I was so miserable I couldn't get out of bed. And then I'd jump into from the fire into the firing pan, and never really allowing myself that time to dream and imagine, what is it that would light you up?
Yeah.
What is it that feels like happiness to you? And so I think that's what made that road go a little longer and crazier
Yeah.
than it
Yeah.
might have.
I just talked about this on a recent episode, and I was so busy, like I was going to college and I was working full time at a casino. And like it's called the hard count department. So it's just like pulling all the coins out of the machines, like super manual labor type thing. And there were other things that I wanted to do, but I was just so busy. I never stopped to really think about
Right.
what my gift was, what I really wanted to do. I
Right.
did have that tinge of feeling, like you said, of just like I knew I wanted to do something, special and
Yeah.
important. And, I think that having that time just to get some clarity, and even with you writing this book, it just seemed like you took some time and gathered some clarity, start to dissect your amazing life
Right.
and put it into the pages. So I want to know, because obviously, like Brene Brown talking about vulnerability,
Right.
it's something that's on the tip of our tongues, but you really did share and opened up and like shared your story and exposed yourself. Like, what gave you
Yeah.
the courage to do that?
Well, here's what gave me the courage is I've been doing a podcast for 18 months before I started writing this. And, I'm sitting there with my co-host is one of my great friends of 30 years. We've been through everything together. So we're just having a girlfriend chat. We're just sitting there. It was in the garden room of my old house in Los Feliz. And, we'd get the little recorder out. I'd unpack the wires and get our mic set up. And in a big mess of a ball of tangle, and we just sit down and just talk about the things that mattered to us, what was in our hearts, what our dreams were, and then where we really struggled, like where our pain was. And we know each other so well that it was, next thing I know, listeners would write in and say, gosh, that was so brave. And I'm like, how brave? Like, what do you mean by brave? Because
Yeah.
I was like, wow,
So
okay.
you had already kind of started that process.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know what the healing of that for me was, that when people would all of a sudden say, I feel so much better listening to you.
Yeah.
And I'd say, okay, so nobody's attacking me. It's not humiliating. It doesn't make the shame worse. It brings light into all those areas. And all of a sudden you're like, healed.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so awesome. Thank goodness for podcasts.
Yeah,
First
right?
of all,
Yeah.
And obviously you share some of your story, and when you found that thing that really did light you up and
Right.
became the thing you dove deep into in your
Right.
life, you shared this statement, and I want to talk about this, that production and being a producer is multifaceted.
Yes.
And you've gone on, you produced the podcast, you produced this book,
Yep.
but producing a show, like what is that really all about? Why do you say it's multifaceted?
Well, because that even the role of producer, it's what does a producer do? Everything. You are looking at the big picture. You're managing the details. You're managing the team. You're you know executing on the intention, and then you have to make it work and run. So
Yeah,
it is everything.
yeah,
Just like, when we're doing this really, really well, we are the producers of our lives. And that's where we usually drop the ball because we keep thinking something outside of ourselves is going to come in and get it all shaped up for us, right?
yeah. And that was part of your job too, is like storytelling for
Yes,
other people
that's right.
and
That's
framing
right.
them, right?
That's right. And here's what's so interesting to me, and this still fascinates me, how easy it is for me to take care of other people, to set boundaries for other people on their behalf, for me to produce the story of somebody else's life. And then imagine this to come smack dab in the middle of my 50s and say, okay, you've manifested the career of your dreams, but not the life of your dreams. And when are you going to take that gift of storytelling and start to use that in your own life?
Yeah. And you call it an audience of one,
Yes.
and there's something really powerful, which I didn't know. I don't know these details. And you kind of open up and share for the rest of the world these things, but you made the statement that after 54, specifically 54, you stopped to matter as far as like the
Yes.
the big businesses and people paying attention to you.
That's right.
Why is that?
Well, they're demos, as you know. They're demos for advertisers, and I was by that time running a television network, and the demos were very, very important. And those are the audiences where you monetize your television show or your network, and advertisers look for the sweet spot of those audiences. And the last demo ends at 54.
Wow.
So, 25 to 54, I was 55 years old running a network. I mean, the person I was running it for, Oprah, was well out of the demo. And so when, you're having those conversations, it's like, not so, we don't really care what they're watching. And I thought, gosh, this is so interesting to me because everybody that I know at over 54 finally has some money to spend,
Right. It only
right?
makes sense.
And time to spend it, right?
So true. So true. And you said that you because it's not that you got lost in the work. You wanted to do it, and you really
Yeah.
put yourself heart and soul into creating something special that, I mean, you've impacted the lives of easily a billion people, probably more. But you realize that at that point, like you said, building this dream career, but not a dream life.
Right.
And so you had this moment of reckoning that you talk
Yes.
about in the book. And so first of all, why did you call it that? Reckoning.
Yeah. So, and my caveat to this is I see now that I have a bigger, grander view of it, that I could have done it differently. That it wasn't the hours and the commitment and the actual job that created not living the life of my dreams. It was me using the enormity of that job to go unconscious for things that I found difficult.
Yeah.
So it's like it's the excuse of the world, because you're too busy working for Oprah. So you get a big pass in
Yeah.
almost every area of your life on that. Um, so it's something that I think that we all do in one way or another when we don't want to deal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's true. Wow. And nobody would blame you either. Like I'm just now thinking of that, especially
Nobody
like,
does.
yeah.
Sherry canceled. Well, she's so busy. you
Oh,
know so you get away. And so at a certain point then you start to say those voices get louder and louder and the background gets louder and louder. And on one hand it's never too late to live the life of your dreams, and on the other hand, but if not now, when?
yeah.
When?
Wow. Wow. That's true. That's true. And just in seeing your story and seeing you sharing this again, I think a lot of people are just already connecting with what you're saying, even with being too busy for something. And the truth is, we all have time. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of priorities. And also, when stuff is difficult too, like that takes more time. Takes more time and energy and figuring things out. That
Right.
can pull you away in a sense, but it all matters. But you also talked about how, in that reckoning, getting
Yes.
honest about the things that you really wanted,
Right.
right? Because you had the dream
Right.
job, and there were other things that you wanted that seemed like it would be nice, but I'm too busy.
Yeah.
And so, how did you get to that place of, and I want this for other people to,
Yeah.
and I keep talking about this, be honest about what you want.
That's right. That reckoning was really, really important for me, and I don't know if you see this as you're out in the world and you're helping people with your work, but the thing that prevented my reckoning, which is really an honest look at every area of my life, was the voice in my head that I used on myself had always been so harsh, so judgmental, so unkind, so lacking in compassion. You're not enough of this, you're too much of that. That was a stupid thing to say, and the list goes on, that the idea of having that honest conversation with myself was terrifying. Like I wasn't sure I could come out of it. And so I knew that I would have to make an adjustment on that, that it would have to be I was going to have to let that voice go. I was going to have to fire that voice and thank it for its service, and then excavate a new voice, that tender voice that I would use with any friend who was having a hard time, that I used to talk to my English bulldogs, Bella and Kissy, my beloved, my sweet baby, babies in a grocery store, that I would use to talk to any other human being
Yeah.
on the planet. And that voice is a voice that is compassionate and understanding and still true. And so that process in the end did not level me. It was it was like a coming home to the truth of everything I'd created. The glorious things, the less glorious things, the majesty, the failures and disappointments. And then from that place, I could say, all right, now, what are your dreams now for your life? Not when you were 25-year-old
Yeah.
dreams, not when you were 30 dreams. What are your dreams right now?
Yeah. And you went into the different areas of your life, of
Yes.
course. And one of those that you estimated was like, I think 90 trial and failures of like diet
Oh
programs.
my
I think
God.
you said like three a year or something for like 30 years,
Yes,
maybe.
forever, forever.
Yeah.
Like it's that false sense of motivation where you're like, this time, it'll be, and it's all about like deprivation and as fast as possible
Yeah.
and crazyment. And even before and after a certain point, when you've done that over and over for a long time, you start to know, even to yourself, you're like, you're not serious about this. But okay, Monday it is. It's never going to happen. But Monday, I can't wait. And this is going to be it. So, yeah, I mean, for me at the end of the day, and mind you, I've seen every program on the planet.
Yeah.
I've
Firsthand.
produced every expert. I've taken notes copiously, and for me, where it ends up is this: at a certain point, I was going to have to become the expert of my own self.
Yeah.
My
Wow.
own
Yep.
coach with a capital C, and what that means for me isn't that I have all the answers. I do have quite a bit of information, but what it means is when I go and listen to somebody speak and they're sharing wisdom and knowledge and their point of view, I take it in as like I'm mining for gems. It isn't like I'm going to put somebody else's ideas on like a suit of clothes, wear them for 60 days and drop them and find the next outfit. Now it's more like what resonates with me? What's the gem I can take from this conversation and try in my own life?
I love you. This is so awesome. I don't think you realize how important this is. And a lot of people have asked me over the years, like, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? looking for me to have people on with the same opinions, basically. And it's because everybody's different. And I'm really encouraging people through this show, through this platform, through everything that I do to be your own coach.
Yes.
Which the thing is kind of, it's hard. You know, it's hard stuff because you got to pay attention to yourself.
Yes.
You got to pay attention to your thought patterns, to how things make you feel. And we're so distracted today as well. It's just like there's quite a bit against us in a sense. But you just said it, like that's literally, it is that simple though, really. But it's not necessarily easy either to listen to yourself.
Well, that's the ultimate commitment. And when I did my reckoning, like what was the moment? What was the thing that came out of it? You know, I was like, yep, just as I suspected. It's not perfect. And I've got a lot of dreaming to do. But really the thing that was the most gut-wrenching realization was that I'd been entrusted with this life, and I had shown myself to be an unworthy steward of it.
Yeah.
And then, the last 3 years, I continue to kind of define for myself what it means to be a worthy steward of this life I've been given. And what does that mean through my lens, in my unique way? What is my personal recipe for that?
Yeah. Yeah. I noticed something that, and I guess you might have noticed while you were writing it, or even previous to that, since you said, like, I still had that little voice, like, you're not serious. But when you made the decision, like, okay, and you were with Nance,
Yes.
and you guys were like plotting and mapping out how things are going to
Right.
be now with this new opening in your life. And with the fitness thing, you guys went to like the newest, hottest
Yes.
experience in exercise. And I'm
That I
listening to
didn't
it.
name.
And I'm listening to it, and I'm hearing the things you're doing. I'm just like, that doesn't really sound appropriate. And I saw that like you have this like 0 to 100 approach to stuff. I
Yeah.
think like is that pretty accurate?
Oh my gosh, please. I know. There is something, and I still work on this, to be truthful, that there is something in me that feels that is very all or nothing.
Yeah, yeah,
You're either, running up Everest or you're flat on the couch eating chips. So I have to be just really like self-aware about that. That honestly, if you for 30 days do the 40-minute walk after dinner, that's really great.
yeah. It is. Yeah, yeah.
It's like spiritual, it's great, it's a commitment to yourself. But yes, so yes, Nancy and and it was all my scheming. Off we went. We were gonna have our Hollywood bodies. That's what we were in pursuit of. And within and thousands of dollars. I can't even. I mean, it's embarrassing. I just can't even add it all up. Thousands of dollars. And by the end of it, Nancy was hobbling around on a sore foot, and I literally I had to get an MRI, like
Right.
and like cortisone injections. Yeah, so it was crazy.
Yeah. And as I was listening to that, I think even the first workout, like you guys were like you were looking at her trying to see if she was even okay.
Oh, she was flat
And
on the ground.
you guys,
I was outside, like literally heaving. Literally,
and you ended up in the car.
Yeah, yeah.
It started with laughter, but then ended up in tears.
That's right.
And
It
we'll be
did.
back in 2 days to do some more.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, these days here's what I do. I have a very very a trainer that I can speak to and say that hurts and I'm not doing that again. Instead of I don't know why I put myself in those precarious situations, but it's like 3 to 4 days a week, some swimming, some this, some that, some yoga every morning. Trying to like just infuse my life with healthy movement instead of doing the thing that
Yeah.
I always used to do.
That's so powerful. And I know again, a lot of people hearing that's gonna be like, that's me, that's so me. It's all or nothing. But I think that for me, the two, it just like on a logical scale, just like they don't really connect, suffering and health.
Yeah.
But it's just like there's this thing that we have. It's just like
Oh my God, that's
we have to suffer our way into this
Right.
result. And it honestly doesn't go together. And people who do that, once you get here, they break down.
Right.
And I just think that love, patience, fun, all these things,
Yes.
those resonate with health. They sound familiar.
Right. Oh my God. Self-created suffering can never lead to a happy ending. It just can't. It just can't. I really, I'm going to take that. I'm going to take that with me. That's a good one.
You can have it. It's
Thank you.
yours. Mining for gems,
Mining for
baby.
gems. That's an
So,
Instagram post.
and I think you also asked an important question in the book, really powerful question. And you asked, what is it about this weight?
Yeah.
What is it about this weight? Since you had been, trying
Yes.
and just all this different
Yes.
stuff. And yeah.
I know. And you know what? That is an interesting thing. I mean, I would say since my reckoning, I've lost about 45 pounds. And a lot of that was just with attention and consciousness. And I would say that there's always more mining to do, more transcending to do. And my first go-to, like even with this book launch, that was when everything comes back up for me again, because
Yeah.
it's like it's busy.
Yep.
You've got a lot going on. You've got to really put yourself out there. And instantly you can go to where everything else in your life is more important than that radical self-care. Like, did I meditate? Well, I'll do that later because I'm much too busy right now. I can talk about it in an interview,
Yeah.
but I'll have to put my meditation on hold for a day or two. And well, I'm not going to have time for a workout because I have to get to the airport. It's so interesting how that absolute bone deep care of self gets put on pause when all of a sudden there's activity around the responsibility of work or
Yeah.
something like that, you know?
Facts. Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And
And then the stress rises,
Yeah.
and it's like, did you do your mindfulness? Are you doing your breath work? No, I want cheese. All that stuff comes up for me again. And then I have to go back and focus and say, what is your dream for your life?
Yeah.
What is your dream for your life? You've gone down that road. Remember what that leads to? It leads to a reckoning where you go, that really isn't the path I want to walk. This is the path I want to walk.
Yeah. Ah, so good. So good. So obviously, and this is a question that I was having as I was reading, you've been around the most powerful messages like in the universe,
Yes.
right? And I think a lot of people need to hear this for themselves, because you also mentioned you're so good at taking care of other people.
Yeah.
But how could we possibly just like be surrounded by that and still not like address it for us?
Yeah.
And I think, of course there are different things that you were doing throughout.
But it's the great paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
That you have all the information and you're excited about that information and you really do want that life. It isn't like you don't.
Yeah.
You really do want, health and wellness, and you really do want, to feel good and feel so good that it's easy to choose happiness on an hour by hour basis. You really do want that. And for some reason, you keep going unconscious, putting it on the shelf and making everything else more important. And the only antidote to that I have discovered is staying mindful and staying focused, and kind of giving up the all or nothing perfectionist thing and saying, on a regular basis, on a daily basis, every 3 days, once a week, how are you doing? Yeah. How do you feel? Not like you're bad and wrong, but how do you feel? Do you feel as good as you should feel? You get to feel good. You're supposed to live the life of your dreams. Are you doing that? It's in your hands.
Yeah. Wow. It's so simple. Again, it's so simple. And so I love that. You just said a bad word for a lot of people.
What's that?
Perfectionist. It's the P word.
Yeah.
It's a dirty P word. And
That's a bad word for me.
So we could fall into those character traits
Yeah.
that lead to like, I'm not doing this perfectly. So yeah.
Well, that's
slippery slope.
also that, for me, I in peeling that back. Yes, not first of all because it's impossible, but second of all, it's a little bit of a self-sabotage technique. You set yourself up for the all or nothing, which usually ends up with nothing in my experience, or the perfectionist thing. So you're almost sabotaging yourself from the beginning because it's not achievable. Instead of, like here's some really noisy, big, huge change in my life. Have a glass of water. walk around the block. 5 minutes of mindful breathing. All those little things that in the past I would have been like, that's not going to do anything. I need big action.
Yeah.
All those little things change the course of your next 30 minutes. And that changes the course of the next 3 hours. And that defines your day. And those days define your weeks. And that becomes your life. It's those little things that mean everything. The things that I thought, weren't worth paying attention to.
We've got a bunch more of these little things that you're going to share with us from your book. Definitely pick it up right now, The Beautiful No, and we'll be right back right after this quick break. Hey, everybody. With all of the things that we're exposed to today, the environmental toxicity, the weird stuff showing up in our food supply, we've got to do things to really support our immune system. Our immune system is really running the show on so many different levels to keep us healthy. And one of the most powerful things for supporting a healthy immune system is making sure that we're getting in some immunomodulators. So what does that mean? These are substances that can help to elevate our immune system in response to things that might be trying to creep their way into our body, into our cells, and defend us against those things. But it can also bring the immune system back down, calm it down if things are running too hot, AKA we're dealing with some autoimmunity. We need things that are intelligent. Many drugs out there that are pushed through pharmaceutical companies, though they mean well, they push your immune system in one direction, and that can really mess things up on the back end, leading to AKA side effects. So to avoid that, getting some natural immunoregulators are going to be a powerful thing you add into your life. How I do that, and it's been a consistent basis pretty much every single day for the past 3 months now, I've been using every day, and even had it this morning, the incredible mushroom elixirs from Four Sigmatic. So head over to foursigmatic.com/model. So that's FORSIGMATIC.com/model. And you're going to get 10% off all of these amazing superfood elixirs. My favorite is the chaga, and chaga has been clinically shown to increase your NK cell activity, so your natural killer cells, over 300%. It's also the most powerful antioxidant that we've ever seen in the history of humanity that humans actually consume. Powerful antioxidant, powerful anti-cancer, powerful immune system regulator. So that's what I use in the morning. I'll get some chaga, and sometimes I'll have it straight, or I'll blend it with some hot water, some healthy fat. So this could be some ghee, this could be some grass-fed butter, this could be some coconut oil, some MCT oil, things like that, with a little bit of cinnamon, maybe some other fun medicinal herbs you can throw in there. But this has been the daily thing that I've done for the past few months, and I highly recommend you start doing the same thing. They also have the mushroom coffees, and my wife is a big fan of these. And so the mushroom coffee mix has cordyceps and chaga in there. And today she ran out. She was like, "Where's my coffee?" And she's not even, ever since we've been together, she hasn't been a coffee drinker, but this has been her daily thing. She loves the way it makes her feel, and she doesn't get some weird kind of caffeine spike and crash as well. So head over and check them out. foursigmatic.com/model for 10% off. Now back to the show. All right, we're back, and we're talking to Sheri about her new book, The Beautiful No. And I've got a lot of the book highlighted, by the way. And I want to ask you about something specifically from the book. And you said, never again can you entertain the dark exercise of taking yourself apart like the county coroner performing an autopsy, judging each piece of you separately and then adding up the tally. And you must make it a routine to internalize compliments, letting them wash over you like a delicious summer rain, rather than dismissing the admirer who offered them as, quote, just trying to be nice, end quote.
Yes.
There's 2 parts here. Number 1, picking ourselves apart.
The autopsy. One of the things when I sat down to work through all this and to kind of come up with my perspective on different things, especially things I think that women get tripped up by. And I knew on some level I had a dysfunctional relationship with the concept of beauty, that it was something like there was some piece of that, and it had to have happened when I was really young, where I noticed some power that what I call the prettiest wielded, and rather than and I got straight A's, and I had I was funny, and but that wasn't as appealing to me as the kind of power prettiest seemed to wield in my little young life. And I made all kinds of assumptions about that, like more lovable, more desirable, and the list goes on and on and on. Now, I wouldn't have thought that I would have dragged that into my adult life, but in the end, I could see that was true. And I could see it was true with other women that, where, men are really not taking their bodies apart with a magnifying glass and having internal conversations about them ad nauseum so much. They're just kind of either, it's more like I'm comfortable in my skin, I'm less comfortable in my skin. And for women, it's like, this part of me is not good. This part of me is kind of good. This, and there's no good can come of that. No good can come of that. And in the end, what I discovered is that waiting for the external to come in and tap you on the head and deem you worthy in any way is like putting your whole life and happiness perpetually on hold. You will never fully inhabit and embody the life that you could be living as long as you are waiting for something external to anoint you. And in the end, we are the anointers of ourselves, of everything, of our goodness, of our worthiness, of our beauty, of our vulnerability, of our lovability, all of it. We are the anointers. So if we continue to deprive ourselves of that, we just end up always seeking and never finding.
Oh, I love this so much. And wow, the picking yourself apart in somebody who is, it's a part of you, you're whole.
Yes.
And
Neural pathways.
yeah, it's really fascinating to think about what that does to us,
Right.
And I've been a big proponent of like, obviously leaning more on the side of gratitude for, even if you don't like that your thighs are big,
Yeah.
that like you have thighs, and
Yes.
they have enabled you to walk around and carry your child, or to to lift someone up who fell down or something, like creating another story along those lines. And another thing that I've been like for years, because I would see it in my practice, and it happened more so with women for sure, of not being able to like receive an affirmation,
Yes.
right? Because you don't need it, but sometimes it's that thing that just is like a cherry on top, or but especially when they're battling that picking oneself apart,
Right.
it's very difficult to imbibe and like bring those compliments in. And like, and I so one of the things, and this is from years ago on the show, I haven't said it in a while, instead of even saying thank you, because a lot of times like thank you, even it's like a fake thank you, but
Right.
just saying like, it's true. It's true. Thank you. I receive that.
Yeah.
And really encouraging people to start to say that. I receive that. And I think you might have said it
I received that.
when you got here.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think, and maybe, and um, you can counsel me on this. I think there's something in that receptivity issue that is maybe even one of the last and final things to connect the dots, to have that kind of that full energy exchange with your life, where it's going out, it's coming back, it's going out, it's coming back, that kind of cleans out the last vestiges of resistance and fear and kind of those emotions that keep us so stuck. And I actually have been thinking about that really in the last like 3 months, that what is the gift of that kind of receptivity, and why is it important to work on that? Like I just feel better giving a compliment than taking it. And I think that cleaning up that last little piece is an important part on my little life of my dreams journey.
Yeah. Oh, I love it so much. You know what? I think what just happened in the car driving over to the studio today, my wife was like, "Oh, those are nice jeans." Like I love to get compliments from her specifically,
Yes.
and she sprinkles them just enough, to keep me interested. But I pay attention, and it's like I receive, and I think, oh, like she
Yeah.
sees me,
Yes.
and whereas, and this is part of it.
You don't go into a big dialogue if she doesn't really mean it.
No. Do my other jeans not look nice?
Yeah,
Like
right,
these kind of
exactly.
things.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
So, being able to receive when those compliments are coming your way, I think it's obviously the self worth thing,
Yeah,
and just saying like that's just not me.
yeah,
Being hurt before and saying there's some type of manipulation taking place. There's all these stories and
right.
roots to this thing, but I think it's just not there's so many reasons for it, but I think a big part of it is just not acknowledging that we matter.
Yeah,
You know.
yes.
So I got the big question even here, the title itself, The Beautiful No.
Yeah.
Why The Beautiful No?
The Beautiful No. So, The Beautiful No, that the story in that book, it's the title story of the book. It's the story about how I got the job at the Oprah show at 35. And it has become a foundational spiritual principle for me. Um, I was up for a big, huge advertising producing job. And I had the interview couldn't have gone better. I mean, he basically was giving me my start date, tons of money, great clients. And I had kind of decided in my mind, well, you're going to make the best, of the advertising thing. Even if it isn't perfect, you're going to find significance and meaning in it. And I really needed that job. I needed it. I really did. I needed it for my my feelings. I needed it for I needed the money, and so I had many premature celebrations with my team, with my gang, and then I got a form letter from the HR department that they had decided not to do any hiring, so I didn't get it, and I would say I felt as like my hands were open. I was just like, then I don't know.
Yeah.
If I'm not getting that after that interview, after that conversation, when it seems so perfect, then I don't even know. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I just kind of opened my hands, felt pretty down, cried a lot. Um, and, I'm like 35 years old. What are you going to do? You had so much promise. And I got the message on my answering machine from the Oprah show, was I available to come in and freelance? And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening. And it wasn't until a few years later when, because the minute I walked into Harpo Studios, I was like, this is it. I'm supposed to be here. This is magic to me. The air feels different. But a couple years later, I look back and I go, you almost had that job. If you had gotten that big job making $75,000
Balling.
with benefits
Yeah.
and a 401k, you would no more have quit that job a short time later to go freelance at the Oprah show than the man on the moon. You wouldn't have done it. It would have been too scary, because you would have been holding on so tightly to that security. You wouldn't have taken a chance on the big dream. And what I realized is, wow, that was the most beautiful no you've ever gotten. And then I started thinking about all the no's that I had, the disappointments, the heartbreaks, the times when I'm like, God, I don't know why that didn't work out. And how all those no's were literally teeing me up for a real dream, something that really mattered to me.
Yeah.
But, I couldn't see it at the time. And honestly, what I started to, once I realized that, I decided I'm not going to burn any more days up being depressed and disappointed when something doesn't go my way. I'm going to say, oh, I can't wait to see how beautiful this is.
Ah, so awesome. It's one of those things in our lives. Like all of us have failures and no's. And
Yeah.
I just saw a clip from Lisa Kudrow from
Yeah.
the
From
Friends
Friends.
TV show. She was doing a ceremony for some graduates, and she
Yeah.
talked about how she got fired from Frasier, and it was just like heartbreaking for her, devastating. Like she was like even just feeling people were pointing the fingers. Like she got fired from the biggest TV show
Yeah.
on television, and she had her own show as well that got canceled. And she was like, but these no's were leading me to friends. Like I wouldn't have been in position
That's
to
right.
get this thing.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And and I think that the real opportunity for all of us, and I say this to myself all the time still, that you believe it. You believe you are co-creating with in the quantum divine field. So you need to make sure you're always in that space. You need to act like you believe it. So the no comes and you say, "Okay, I'm human." Ooh, that hurt.
Yeah.
And then you go, "Okay, it's all going to be fine."
Yeah. Thank you. This is leading me
That's
somewhere.
right.
You know.
That's right.
Wow. Because I think that sometimes we don't get up. Like we don't keep moving forward because the no happens. And I think you just kept moving forward and putting yourself in position for these things to take place.
Yeah, and I'm still listen, I'm still having that conversation with myself because here's the truth. You get to the middle of your life, you have been through some stuff. So do you use that stuff to springboard and evolve yourself and elevate yourself, or are you depressed and a little broken?
Yeah.
Those are the two options.
Yeah. And those things, they develop character traits, attributes, latent capacities. You didn't even know you could do all the stuff that you've done.
Right.
So it's a gift in disguise. And I love that's the title of the book, because I guess that was like the launch pad
Yeah.
for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in this process of like the reckoning,
Yeah.
and then from there, kind of coming out with some different approaches and ideas about life and how you're living right now. As you mentioned, you dove into something else and kind of started to share the story for enabling the book to take place through creating a podcast.
Yep.
So what is it right now for you? Like the thing that is just kind of driving you, lighting you up, and that has you excited right now?
Right. Well, in everything, well, first of all, I think my life is more integrated than it's ever been.
Yeah.
So, we're having this conversation. It checks off about 10 areas of my life. It's not, we're not having a work conversation. We're having the only conversation that matters to me anymore, which is, I'm about the game of upliftment.
Yeah.
I want to uplift. I want to be uplifted. So in anything I'm doing, whether it's writing the podcast, having these conversations, we live in a new day now where we get to choose and curate the content that comes into our lives.
Facts. Right.
It isn't just like I have to watch this so I can get to this show that's going to uplift me. We are in charge, and any opportunity that I have to for my own self. I'm talking to myself.
Yeah.
I'm talking to myself. And the fact that, there are other people who want to have the same conversation and want to walk away going, all right, I'm going to think about that. I'm going to try a little bit of that. I'm going to tweak my recipe. I'm going to leave a little lighter with a lighter heart and a little bit more joy and that sense of, gosh, what else can I dream up?
Yeah.
Those kinds of possibilities. And that really is what lights me up.
I love it. So you just said something. I was hoping that you would say this, is the integration.
Yeah.
Just feeling that, not just being like, my life is all this one thing.
Yeah.
Because you even have a section here where you talk about your epic failure in work-life balance.
Yes. I don't believe in it. I don't believe in work-life balance. I feel like that is a conversation designed to castigate women, to put women particularly in a situation of literally taking themselves apart in a personal autopsy,
Yeah.
because it's not really so much culturally something that has been applied to men. It's more, are you being a good enough mother and an employee and a this and a that, and when do I have time to take care of myself? And what I realized is that is an artificial construct, work-life balance.
Yeah, absolutely.
And just those words are in conflict.
Yeah.
And nobody's going to measure up to that. Nobody. So what is the more powerful, empowered way to walk through the world as a person who has a career and a family and all kinds of other interests, and it kind of is an integrated whole life
Yeah.
where you're flowing your attention in a way that lights you up.
Yeah.
And you're using your intuition and you're staying mindful so that you are living the kind of life you want to live. And it's not to be weighed and measured and judged.
Absolutely. Balance really, we have this concept of balance, like you said, but there's nothing in life that is static. You
Nothing.
know, it's always moving. Something is all, even the analogy of the seesaw, you
Right.
know, if it was balanced, that's boring.
Right.
You know, there's going to be some up and down and some movement
It's a flow
to
thing,
everything.
don't you think?
Absolutely.
It's like spiritual, emotional. It's all about a flow and being in that flow where, you can just keep reaching for the better thought and the better idea and the more uplifting point of view. And more things, opportunities pop up, synchronicities happen, the phone rings, you run into somebody, you hear something that you hadn't considered before. That's when I feel like life feels magic.
Yeah. And it's always happening. You know, it's just,
Yeah.
are you tuned in and paying attention?
So true.
With that analogy of the seesaw, sometimes you're going to be at the bottom,
Yeah.
and it's going to be, you talk about this in the book, you're going to be in a rut
Yeah.
in different areas of your life.
Yes.
You talk about the anatomy of a rut.
Yes.
So why did you put that in the book?
Well, here's what was so fascinating. So I was a staff worker working for others, and arguably fantastic job I ended up with. But working for others meant that they had a say. My schedule was set for me. They had a say over my time. So when I began to work for myself, I walked out in the world and I moved to LA. So I couldn't get from here to 3 blocks from here without Waze, the app.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
I
and
feel you.
Waze is taking you a different way every time. I'm like, I don't even know what direction I'm in, but I know I'm going to end up where I need to go. And I hadn't cashed a personal check in a bank during the week for probably 15 years. Like it would be an assistant would run because I couldn't leave my desk. And so I walked into a bank and I thought, I'm like, hi, everybody, I'm Sheri. And they're like, okay, just move along
It's
there,
not that
ma'am.
kind of party anymore.
No. But what I realized is there was a whole different way of being going around in the world. And even me with, hi, Tom Hanks, hi, Julia Roberts, Oprah, let's have a meeting, interesting, fabulously fascinating life. Yeah. I was in a big, huge rut. Went the same way to work every day, before the sun came up, came home after the sun went down, rut. And when you step out of a rut and try something new, you go, oh my gosh, life is so amazing. There's, I feel like a different person. I feel so filled with energy. I took Italian for 8 months. And I'd go to my little class. It was in Beverly Hills at the Language Institute. I'd go to my little class, and about 3 months in afterwards, I said to the instructor, "I'm the worst one, aren't I?" And he's like, "Oh, Sheri, I don't know that. Oh, I know I am, aren't I?" And he goes, "Well, So he almost confirmed it for me, and I didn't care. I didn't care because every time I walked out of there, I was like, oh my God, I feel like my brains have been just scrambled alive. Because I'm doing something new. I'm mixing it up. There's new energy. It's a new force. Those little things make such a big difference as the decades roll on.
Yeah. Oh, I love that so much. And putting ourselves, I've said that like 5 times. I love that so much. Putting ourselves in those awkward positions because it's kind of
Yes.
uncomfortable,
Yes.
But it keeps you young in a sense.
Yes. Well, even the littlest things, adding newness. That's what I was having this conversation with myself. Like, okay, so you're in the middle time because I don't use midlife. Midlife sounds like another word for old folks home. It feels very, very old and aging. But the middle of life is, you are a icon in health and wellness. If we do the things that we know work and kind of stay tuned to the leading edge, we might just be, if we're in our hit 50, we might be in the middle of life. Yeah. What are you doing for the next 50 years? Camping? Driving your camper around America? Like, what are you doing? Yeah. And that sense of newness, when you feel like you've been there and done everything, is really life-giving. It's kind of like charging your battery, like just getting the force moving within you.
Yeah, yeah. We need that. Tony
So need
Robbins
to.
talks about that, about the six human needs and that
Yes.
need for uncertainty and variety.
Yeah.
Like if you're not fulfilling that, that's like suffering, basically. So like proactively putting yourself in those positions where you are growing and stretching yourself in a different way. That's
Yes.
such a great example too with the language learning.
Yes. Oh, please.
Wow.
And it's very different. Like when you meet a child and they're speaking Mandarin Chinese and they're in, second grade,
Yeah.
and I'm in my Italian class going, "Due." But it's so interesting. But here's the thing about routine. In some ways, as you age, as you get older, you feel a sense of comfort about your routines.
Right.
But it's your routines that are killing you. That your
Yeah.
routines are taking your life force away. That same old is probably as deadly as any other unhealthy behavior.
Yeah. Oh, it's so powerful. One of the greatest teachers out there, Eric Thomas, Dr. Eric Thomas, best motivational speaker, walking the face of the earth. He said that success is in the routine. That's one part of the story. Then he also says, but don't let the routine bind you and imprison
Yes.
you.
Yes.
There's a balance there. If we're talking about balance, those are the kind of things, but it's
Right.
more of like integration and being able to flow
Yes.
because having that routine can get you a level of success, but you don't, it will imprison you as well at some
That's
point.
right. Well, and I think, and where the word routine really shines is adding those little practices to your life consistently that continue to provide elevation.
Right. Yeah.
Where it's not so great is all those other things that you do the same way, like Tuesday spaghetti night. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah. Taco Tuesday.
Read the paper this way. We only go to, we drive ourselves to the lake for vacation 2 weeks a year, and that's it. So those are the kinds of things that start to make our lives feel dull
Yeah.
and uninteresting.
Yeah. But Taco Tuesday can still, like, we could stick with that one. I don't know if anybody else got hungry when I said it, but you talk about, in getting into something new and something, that variety button, you talk about, you've got to walk before you pole dance.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
Oh my gosh. Well, one of the things when Nancy moved into my house, we decided we were going to have sessions with Dr. Laura Berman, who is an Oprah show expert for many years and a sex therapist. And because we both had not manifested our soulmate man relationships. And so we did these intensive sessions. And Laura's big thing for me is that in my career journey, a lot of masculine energy, a lot of marshaling the troops,
Yeah.
and the general, and that it would be really important for me to kind of summon forth my divine feminine through perhaps an activity like pole dancing. And I swear, she'd be like, "So, have you pole danced yet? Have you gone to the class?" I haven't yet. I have it on my list. Yeah, I'm going to set up the time. And I found myself, I just like couldn't make myself go. And then, she had many, many other exercises. And I get what she's saying. I understand what she's saying, which is, for all of us, it's kind of like all parts of ourself must be developed.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to romantic love. But I was not able to. I have still not pole danced yet.
The walk, you got to walk first.
You got to walk before you can pole
And
dance.
so, what are you doing for your walk?
What I'm doing for my walk? Well, I have I'm being set up by various people, people that I trust. I'm not really super interested in online dating. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you have any opinions on that?
I absolutely do. And for me, after my time,
Yeah,
should I say.
I
So it's
know.
just, the construct is very strange to me in
Doesn't
of
that look
itself.
weird?
It's just like,
Yeah.
in some aspects, it's kind of like you're able to kind of curate and pick. Whereas throughout human evolution, it's more like when somebody says you're my soulmate and they just so happen to live in the same town as you, or
Yeah.
or in the same city, same
Yeah.
school, versus like it's kind of like this adventure, this variety experience. So it's just different. It's not that it's better or worse. It's just
Yeah.
different. And I
I
think we're
think
figuring it out.
it's a path. And the people who love that path, God bless them. And everybody I know has somebody like, oh, they met on Match.com. Did they? Okay, that's good. A lot of the people I know who are big online daters feel a little depressed about it to me. It's just like, how'd it go? Well, I had 10 dates this week. Like, oh,
Wow.
nothing's appealing about
Yeah.
that, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
How'd it go?
And then, of course, there are those folks that like that was their thing, and they did
I
meet their
know,
soulmate,
I know, I
So
know.
it's
To
just,
that,
it's
to
a
thine
thing.
own self be true. I really have tried to open myself up to that idea,
Yeah.
and every time I'm on the edge of it, where I have the form and I'm starting to clicky clack the keys, I go, that doesn't feel like my way.
Yeah. Man, and you know what I just realized just now in talking about it with you, like we're so judgmental too, like of other people. And we have this ability to judge so many at such a fast pace because you could just swipe, you know?
I
Like,
watched somebody
is
do
that is
that
that
Tinder thing
healthy?
once.
You know?
That didn't look good to me.
Yeah.
From a spiritual perspective, just swiping people into the trash. Something about that felt like, I don't know if that's a good muscle to develop.
In the words of Cardi B, that is, I think is basura is like trash. Swiping him in basura.
Right.
That's me trying to learn Spanish. So one of the last things that you talk about in the book is that, and I think this is super powerful and important, is that you are what you dream.
Yeah.
And so, first of all, like, what is that? What does that mean for us? You are what you dream.
It always, for me, goes back to storytelling. What is the story that we are telling ourselves about our lives? And are we paying attention to that story? Are we paying attention to the words we use in that storytelling thing that goes on inside of us? And are we telling the story of life the lives we dream of, or is it like, a ho hum, story of disappointment and kind of depression? You are what you dream to me means that those dreams we have are our stories of creation. And whether we're talking about our health, or we're talking about our relationships, or we're talking about our spiritual life, those stories that we tell about those things are kind of our requests. Our requests to the all of all, to the quantum field. These are my requests for myself in this area of my life. I have dreams for the people in my life. I have dreams for, my town. I have dreams for my country. And all those dreams are really stories. And at the end of the day, if we can begin to see and remind ourselves how powerful that exercise is of setting aside a little bit of time every day to do some dreaming, that really is the beginning of the building block of our lives.
Yeah.
And so you are what you dream. You can look at your life if you're kind of bored, if you're uninspired, if you feel really stuck, then it's time to fire up that power and to fire up that practice, because that is how you create the life of your dreams, through dreaming.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. I'm again just a big fan, and reading this book, it made me feel more, just a sense of like wanting to share more, to open up more, to look into those areas of my life that I might have like kind of pressed down into like little dark crevices. And I know that all these different things, they're able to serve and help other people if I just open up and share. And so thank you for sharing and for having the audacity to put your life experience onto these pages and putting it out for everybody to really absorb and to enjoy. There's so many great nuggets in the gems. Just
Gems.
mining for gems throughout the book is, I don't think you can be who you are and not have just a tremendous wealth of these gems. So thank you for that.
I loved this. I love this talk with us.
Awesome, awesome. Can you let everybody know where they can pick up your book and
Yes.
also where they can connect with you online?
Yes. Well, and here's what's great. I think this is really good. And normally, sometimes I'm like, I don't know about these kinds of things. We put together a 64-page workbook that's free that goes with this. So you can go to thebeautifulno.com. and you can, all the links to buy books, to buy the book are there, and then you can put in your little order and get the free workbook, which is
Sweet.
good. You can
Yes.
have your own beautiful no experience.
Oh, I love it. So we got
Yay.
some action to go with it. I
Yes,
love it.
exactly.
Thank you so much for hanging out with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. I had a great time. And, this is something that's really going to stay with me. I already know it. And I just kind of got obsessed a little bit when I started to read the book and it started to kind of invade other areas of my life. I found myself, I literally was sitting outside, just sitting in the sun and just got swept away for like a couple hours. And I haven't shared this with you, but, and then I just started, when I start telling my wife stuff, that's when I know it's like really, really good. And I think what we close with in understanding that you are what you dream, really, where are you taking the time to dream and just to think about what it is that you really want and to get honest? Our dreams, even that word, I think it is a little bit fleeting, but it's so powerful. Like that's where everything comes from. Every single thing that even I'm seeing in this room started off as a dream or an idea within the mind of a person. That's so powerful, so powerful. And you have that ability to bring your dreams into reality. But you have to have the audacity and courage to be honest about what you want and to start dreaming your dreams, not borrowed dreams, borrowed desires, but what it is that you really want. And I hope that today Sheri was able to communicate that to you and how powerful you are. And also that we're going to have those ruts. There's an anatomy to it. We're always a work in progress. And we also just have so much potential. And each no along the way is an open door for something even better. I appreciate you so much. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it out with the people that you care about on social media. And of course, you could tag me. And I'm at Shawn Model on social media. Do you have a social media handle?
At Sheri Salata.
At Sheri Salata. You can tag her as well. Let her know, please let her know what you thought of this episode. And we've got some powerhouse, epic shows coming your way. So make sure to stay tuned. I appreciate you so much. Take care. Have an amazing day. And I'll talk with you soon.